Like I said, I expect the Lions to still be good. You know what I'm saying? I expect them to still do good. But again, we got better too. Okay? Listen, in my opinion, in the NFC North, it's the Vikings and the Lions. That's how I'm coming down to it. Do y'all expect anybody else to win the NFC North realistically? Are y'all really putting the Bears and the Packers in there, though? It feels like the Bills are always in the playoffs. The Bills are always winning games in the playoffs. It just feels like the Bills always can, well, not always. The Bills can never beat the Chiefs. That's what it feels like. Right? With Lamar Jackson, we're hoping he can make it to the playoffs, and then we're hoping that he doesn't get put out in the first round. Let's be honest. For as good as he is, every year we get to the playoffs with Lamar Jackson, we're kind of holding our breath. You know what I'm saying? And welcome back to Mischief Entertainment, man. As you can see on the screen, we are reacting to 6 NFL teams that won free agency in 2025 and 6 that totally blew it. And listen, this came out today. This just came out 28 minutes ago, as you can see on the screen. So this should be up to date with most things that's happening in free agency. And let me say something. I've been seeing stuff. I've been seeing some of the moves. I haven't been able to be fully dialed in on NFL free agency just because of my other obligations in life and other obligations to YouTube, you know what I'm saying? But again, I've been seeing some stuff, I've been paying attention, and for the most part, this should summarize free agency so far in a nice little something for us to react to, you know what I'm saying? One thing I do want to say before getting to the video is y'all know that I am a Purple fan. I'm gonna say it like that because I'm a Vikings fan. You know, shout out back in the day to Purple People Eaters. Shout out to Purple People Eaters, one of the best names ever created in sports history. I'm also a Ravens fan. Shout out Ray Lewis. You know, that's my boy Ray Lewis. Shout out Ed Reed. You know what I'm saying? Shout out my people. Shout out Joe Flacco. You know, shout out the Ravens. One thing I don't like, honestly, is I feel like how much people, and I'm going to say it, is sleeping on the Minnesota Vikings. I honestly don't know what's going on. I've been hearing a lot of talks about how the Bears got better and how Caleb Williams should get better and the Packers are the Packers, you know what I'm saying? And then you still got the big bad Detroit who's in the NFC. Well, I got something to say about that. All of that. You know, we can talk about the NFC North right now. I get that the Vikings, we have no Super Bowl, you know what I'm saying, and the Vikings are the Vikings, but for the same thing, I can say that the Bears are the Bears. We thought last year was going to be a good year for them. We thought the year before that might be a building block year for them. So now this year is really the year that they're going to take off. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the Bears, but don't mind me if I'm a little skeptical about what we might see from the Bears this year. Next, the Detroit Lions. Well, the Detroit Lions are a powerhouse team. They had a lot of injuries last year. I don't exactly expect them to necessarily take a step back. Again, maybe they go through the Lions on here. Maybe they lost a lot of guys or something like that. But so far in free agency, I haven't seen anything about the Lions losing key pieces, you know, because they are a very deep team. They have people literally everywhere. But it is also starting to get to the point where the Lions are starting to kind of seem like the 49ers. Where it's been, what, 2-3 years now? Where we thought the Lions would be in the Super Bowl and they just weren't. I expect the Lions to make the playoffs, you know. I expect the Lions to be very good next year, you know. But again, the Vikings also got better. We got better. Last on the list to talk about as far as the NFC North right now, I guess it's going to be an NFC North conversation, is the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love has showed y'all enough to secure his place in the quarterback ladder, because he's not better than CJ Stroud. He's not a Patrick Mahomes type quarterback. He's not better than Jaden Daniels. Let's see. I would put him around the Baker Mayfield category. Baker Mayfield, Trevor Lawrence, no, not Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, You know what I'm saying? A quarterback who has talent, but we've yet to see them take a big step. That's where Jordan Love is. You know what I'm saying? And the Green Bay Packers, although they have a very good team, and all of that, they've amounted to nothing in the last few years too, just like the Vikings. And last year, I would say the Vikings had the upper hand on the Packers. The Vikings, with everything they had, have gotten better. And from watching the Eagles, right? From watching the Eagles, how did the Eagles win the Super Bowl? Well, I would say a large part of that was due to their offensive line and defensive line being able to control the trenches and run your scheme the way you want to run it. The Minnesota Vikings have got 3 interior offensive linemen. We got 2 new defensive tackles. I believe we run a 3-4, so they're going to have 3 defensive tackles along with our 2 Pro Bowl edge rushing linebackers. With everything I just said to y'all, I just don't understand how there isn't more hype around this next year for the Vikings. Last year with Sam Darnold and what was supposed to be J.J. McCarthy starting, but he got hurt, was supposed to be like a rebuild year. We were supposed to win like 8 games. That's what we were supposed to do. And we did that in a rebuild year. And we took everything we learned from that rebuild year. We're retooling, adding to where we need to add to. And now we're going again. We're building off of what we did last year. And what we did last year was an accident. You get what I'm saying? So I just don't understand how the Vikings aren't more celebrated for what they did in free agency. And I think a lot of it comes down to the quarterback position. I get it. But again, J.J. McCarthy. And listen, I've been talking for a long time. I don't even know how that happened. Listen, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, man. Let's get to the video.
League, trying to piece together their rosters heading into the following season.
Very curious to see what the Texans do the remainder of this offseason and the draft to try to protect C.J. Stroud.
Shout out TPS.
There's always going to be teams that come out on top while others sink to the very bottom. So, let's take a look around the NFL and do a who's who of the winners and losers. Winners, Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals made a couple of big moves this offseason that should bode well for them heading into 2025. The headliner being the addition of edge rusher Josh Sweat, who played for Jonathan Gannon when he was the defensive coordinator with the Eagles. This was part of a major reinvestment in their defensive line that also included defensive tackles Dalvin Tomlinson, who recorded 4 sacks last year for Cleveland, and re-signing LJ Collier to a team-friendly 1-year, $4 million deal. They also made a wise choice investing in depth at the quarterback position with Jacoby Brissett, who will be reuniting with offensive coordinator Drew Petzing, his former quarterback's coach in Cleveland in 2022. Having a vet like Brissett at their disposal to help foster some growth in Kyler Murray and fill in should he get dinged up is going to be a huge boon heading into this season. Losers, Atlanta Falcons.
All right, real quick, Cardinals. I like what they said. Dalvin Tomlinson is a really big guy, so even if he doesn't put up a lot of stats, he should be able to help eat up blocks. Okay, he's a big guy. Okay, you got to kind of pay attention to him out there, get him blocked, maybe double teams. As far as Kyler Murray, I want to say personally, I've kind of given up on Kyler Murray. I think he's always going to be a mid-tier quarterback. I don't want that for him. I'm not trying to hate on him, but what I've seen from him kind of indicates that to me. So, I don't know. I've seen teams win with mid-tier quarterbacks, so I like what they did. That's how I'm gonna sum it up. I like what they did. Okay.
Home for Kirk Cousins,
and they got Jacoby Brissett. That's not bad.
Ever play the game? It's hard to view them as anything other than losers so far this offseason. Now, of course, it isn't just the Cousins saga dragging their grade down. The move to bring in Leonard Floyd, despite 2 straight subpar seasons, one for the 49ers and one for the Bills, was really puzzling as well, especially when you see how many eggs they are really putting in that basket from a pass rush perspective. Same with linebacker Divine Diablo, who they signed away from the Raiders. In 2024, he earned a 59.6 run defense grade from PFF, recording 17 stops and 7 missed tackles, while also allowing a 103.4 passer rating when targeted in coverage. Yeah, not exactly a world beater. This move that Atlanta made was bringing in cornerback Mike Hughes, who is coming off one of his best years as a pro on a very flexible deal. But all things considered, this is not shaping up to be a good offseason for Atlanta. Winners?
I ain't even gonna lie, listen. Atlanta, for the last, especially 2 years, whole bunch of puzzling moves on what y'all doing. Y'all have talent in certain spots, and all you gotta do is fill in the holes, Atlanta. And now, here, I'm not an Atlanta fan. I got a friend, my boy Sino. He loves Atlanta. He loves Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not an Atlanta fan. I'm not an Atlanta hater either. I'm saying this as a sports fan. They have B. John Robinson. You know what I'm saying? They have Kyle Pitts. I forget their 2 wide receivers, but I like their 2 wide receivers. They have Jesse Bates. I'm forgetting another player. They have, in my opinion, some Pro Bowl caliber guys out there on both sides of the football, right? And with how messy their GM is, I would guess, with trades and signing people, it's kind of puzzling how they even got them in the first place, but they have them. And all you gotta do is fill in some holes. That's all you gotta do, and find a quarterback, okay? Until you can find a quarterback, continue filling out them holes, okay? That's the scheme for teams. That's how you do it.
Washington Commanders. The Commanders wasted no time making major moves this offseason. While the biggest splashes, landing Laramie Tunsil, one of the league's premier left tackles, to anchor an offensive line that desperately needed stability, and wide receiver Deebo Samuel, came in via trade. They've also been wheeling and dealing on the free agent market as well. In addition to re-signing Bobby Wagner, who even at 34 was a beast for them last season, Washington also brought in defensive linemen Dietrich Wise Jr. and Javon Kinlaw, who should be major value adds. Washington clearly has a plan, and with a franchise quarterback in place and a roster significantly improved from last season, they are positioning themselves to be a real factor in 2025. Losers? Seattle Seahawks.
Hey, I don't think it's really too much to say about the Commanders, really. They had a good team last year, you know what I'm saying? Again, the Commanders, I would feel, is almost like the Falcons, you know what I'm saying? They had good players. I like Terry McLaurin. I'm forgetting some of their other players, but they have good players on both sides of the football. To a certain extent, you just always knew the Commanders needed a quarterback, and their GM and stuff did puzzling moves sometimes, so they couldn't get it together. They finally drafted a quarterback, and now their plan is, fill these holes and add to the strengths that we have. Great plan. That's how you do it, Atlanta. That's how you do it, Atlanta, okay?
It's hard to look at what Seattle did this offseason and feel anything other than confused. Sam Darnold for 3 years and $100.5 million does not feel like a real contract number. The Seahawks are betting big on a guy who was drafted number 3 overall back in 2018. A guy who flamed out in New York, fizzled in Carolina, and played sparingly in San Francisco before finally catching fire in Minnesota last year. And now they suddenly want to treat him like a franchise quarterback, all without addressing the other holes on their roster. That is bold. Then there's the equally bizarre decision to bring in an aging Cooper Kupp on a 3-year deal. Kupp is still a technician at the position, but he has not been fully healthy since his 2021 Offensive Player of the Year campaign. At 31, coming off of multiple lower body injuries, how much of that elite route running is left is a very legitimate question. This doesn't feel like a team with a clear plan. This feels like a team that is desperately throwing darts and hoping one of them hits the bullseye. Winners, Detroit.
Hold on real quick. Seattle, right? He said it was a loser. I don't see Seattle as a loser, right? I see Seattle as in the same place they were last year, but with more flexibility. That's why I see Seattle as a winner. They did sign Sam Darnold to a contract. They traded Geno Smith. It's almost kind of weird how they're doing it, right? But the older players that they did sign, I see them more as vets that can come in and fill some holes, help them play good football while growing the younger players. You know what I'm saying? And then once you find your younger star players, right? those older players, their contracts will be about coming up. So that's easily money you can take from an older player and then give it to a younger guy and continue the trend of moving forward. You know what I'm saying? And building a great team. So I don't necessarily see Seattle as a loser. They're in the exact same place. They got the exact same issues. Their team, I expect to play almost exactly the same for the most part. And good luck to Sam Darnold. You know, it's just as a Viking, you know, it didn't work out. We are on to something bigger here. It's about the overall picture. That's why we had to let you go. But good luck. You know, nothing against Sammy D. Shout out Sammy D. You know what I'm saying? Good luck out there. You get some wins out there.
Get it. After already handing out a combined $541 million in extensions last year to Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Halim McNeil, and Jared Goff, the Lions are proving that they can build for the now while keeping an eye on the future. They played it smart, saving money for that rainy day, and made some rather strategic moves in the process. Perhaps none more so than landing DJ Reed on a team-friendly deal that many in the media just could not believe. Contract aside, this move instantly upgrades their secondary in a way that they desperately needed.
From Carolina?
The offensive side of the ball, they were a little bit more quiet. But considering how impressive that group was last year, status quo is a good thing. And re-signing Tim Patrick to a low-cost deal should pay huge dividends, as he was really starting to come alive in this Lions offense. Losers, San Francisco.
The name up there. Like I said, I expect the Lions to still be good. You know what I'm saying? I expect them to still do good. But again, we got better too. Okay? Listen, in my opinion, in the NFC North, it's the Vikings and the Lions. That's how I'm coming down to it. Do y'all expect anybody else to win the NFC North realistically? Are y'all really putting the Bears and the Packers in there, though? Like, if you want to tell me you're a Bears and Packers fan and you're hoping the best for them, okay. But what we've seen from the NFC division over the last 4 years, it really...
Go 49ers. The 49ers still have Kyle Shanahan and are continuing to play hardball with Brock Purdy on that rookie deal. But people around the league are now starting to wonder if they still have enough high-end talent to be a problem in the NFC. Because, man, this roster took a beating this offseason. They shipped Deebo Samuel to Washington, which, fine, tough cap decisions had to be made. And it seemed like the two sides were really growing apart anyways. But then they watched key pieces like Dre Greenlaw, Aaron Banks, Talanoa Hufanga, Charvarius Ward, Javon Hargrave, Leonard Floyd, and Malik Collins all walk out the door with almost nothing in the way of replacements. That's not just a few losses, that's core talent at multiple positions just gone. San Francisco can try to reload through the draft, but unless they hit every single pick, it is hard to see them staying in that Super Bowl or bust tier that they've been living in for the last few years. Winners, Baltimore Ravens. Sometimes, man, the rich just keep getting richer. The Ravens didn't have a ton of cap space heading into free agency, but when has that ever stopped them from making smart? They locked up Ronnie Stanley because keeping Lamar Jackson upright and happy is always a priority. They brought back Patrick Ricard and Tylan Wallace, and then they made their biggest splash by landing DeAndre Hopkins. Sure, Hopkins isn't prime D-Hop anymore, but in an offense that desperately needed another reliable target, especially a vet like Hopkins who can run routes underneath while Zay Flowers stretches the field, that is a huge get. There was also some addition by subtracting, losing Patrick McCary and Brandon Stephens to offer bigger paydays elsewhere, and cutting ties with Marcus Williams and Arthur Mollett. Gotta think that these were the right calls. This is one of those teams that just keeps finding ways to stay ahead of the curve. Losers, Dallas.
The Ravens always find the ability to have good teams. But for me, and I am a Ravens fan, I'm kind of just on this Lamar Jackson, show me. Lamar Jackson, show me. When I watch him in the playoffs, just like he said, he seems a bit skittish. He doesn't seem like himself, and that's something you can't do. And I'm still a Ravens fan, and I'm not against Lamar Jackson, but it is something he eventually has to learn. And for me, until he learns how to be calm in playoff situations and produce positively with his team. You know what I'm saying? Because there's just too many fumbles, too many turnovers in the playoffs. You can't do that. In that Bills games in the playoffs, I thought they should have won. But they had so many turnovers that they didn't. I'm not against Lamar Jackson. I am still a Ravens fan. I'm just a very truthful person. I'm a truthful sports analyst. You know what I'm saying? Like he has to get past that skittish. You have no reason to be skittish, Lamar Jackson. You're a two-time NFL MVP. Come on now, you got to put in that work.
Another masterclass in doing just enough to keep Cowboys fans perpetually frustrated. Sure, they have made some moves. Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders in the backfield, Kenneth Murray and Solomon Thomas on defense. But come on, let's be real. None of those are needle movers. Williams has flashed talent, but has never been able to stay healthy. Sanders is fresh off a disastrous stint in Carolina. Murray has never lived up to his first-round billing, and Thomas, well, he's been bouncing around the league for years. This is what Jerry Jones considers going for it. Eesh, what a far cry from the Jerry Jones of yesteryear when he led the Cowboys to NFC supremacy. Winners, New York Jets.
Listen, I honestly don't think those signings are too bad. I don't think they're too bad. I don't think they're world movers. I think they should have signed Cooper Kupp. If they signed Cooper Kupp, that easily would have been their best free agency acquisition. The Cowboys, I'm sorry, like Jerry Jones just needs to leave. He can be the owner of the team, but all the interviews and all the talking and all of that, he's really what's killing the Cowboys. He makes us pay attention to everything in great detail because this guy's always talking. And when you're always saying that your team is this, your team is that, and then we don't see that, we're going to talk about it. When you're saying you're all in, and then you get to free agency, and you don't do none of the things that you should be doing as in making big splashes, we're going to talk about that. Is that everything that when Jerry Jones says things, and then when the Cowboys do things, it contradicts. It contradicts, and that's why the Cowboys aren't going anywhere. The own organization isn't even in sync with each other. Hey man, I'm glad I ain't no Cowboys fan. You know, maybe y'all get it together, but y'all got to get Jerry Jones under control. Y'all tell him to go sit down.
With GM Darren Muji and head coach Aaron Glenn running the show, it has been a full-scale roster overhaul. The Jets finally swung for a quarterback with upside, and while Fields still has plenty to prove, this is the kind of move that at least gives them a shot at breaking out of QB purgatory. They didn't stop there either, reuniting Fields with his former Ohio State teammate, center Josh Myers, to help stabilize the offensive line. Brant Stephens is a solid replacement for DJ Reed, who set sails for Detroit as well. New York may not be
okay, DJ Reed from the Jets. Okay, yeah. Very quality talent. Very quality
Super Bowl
talent.
Run in 2025. But hey, they're finally laying a new foundation. Losers.
Listen, real quick. The Jets, right? The Jets. I get it. They've been a little dysfunctional. They haven't been able to get the quarterback position right. Easily for me, like the Aaron Rodgers, it was one of the worst eras in Jets history. Okay, they shouldn't have signed Aaron Rodgers. They shouldn't have traded for him. I got nothing against Aaron Rodgers, but listen. Okay, I usually don't go into the personality aspect, but if your personality affects how you play in the field, then I will come on here and talk about it. Aaron Rodgers is a very selfish person. He also seems very shallow. He thinks he's smarter than everybody. He thinks he's better than everybody. And that shows when he plays. There's nothing but excuses and controversy when you have Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback. Okay. Whew. Easily. Whoever signs Aaron Rodgers next, good luck. The controversy follows Aaron Rodgers everywhere. Darkness retreats. He's out there trying to talk to aliens and stuff, so he's not at training camp. You can't make this stuff up. It's almost like the guy doesn't want a Super Bowl. He says he wants a Super Bowl. He says he's one of the most elite quarterbacks, but then he just goes out on the field and just, yeah.
Houston Texans. Houston, we have a problem. The problem is that they seem determined to squander the opportunity to contend while CJ Stroud is still on his rookie contract. They added yet another eternally injured receiver in Christian Kirk and then traded away Stroud's best protector on their embattled offensive line, Larry Tunsil, to Washington. Yeah, sure, they added Laken Tomlinson and Ed Ingram at guard, but expecting those moves to somehow offset the loss of an elite left tackle is wishful thinking at best. It could be another season of regression for the Houston Texans after things looked so promising during CJ Stroud's rookie year. Winners, Indianapolis.
I understand it. I would say, because this is free agency, they need some big hits in the draft. They need some big hits in the
Throwing
draft.
the dice on a Daniel Jones reclamation project isn't about replacing Anthony Richardson. It's about giving him real competition and a safety net in case his development stalls out entirely. Indy was also sharp, having an eye on the future, choosing not to retain defensive end Dio Dangbo and guard Will Fries, who are going to pull bigger price tags than they're worth paying for with where the Colts are at as an organization. It's not a flashy offseason, but it's a smart one. If competition pushes Richardson to make a leap or Jones rises to the occasion, this team could be alive in the AFC South. Losers, Buffalo Bills. Buffalo has been knocking on the door for years now, but after yet another playoff heartbreak at the hands of Kansas City, they've responded with some truly head-scratching moves. For starters, well, they inked Joey Bosa to a deal. Yeah, if he's healthy, the man's a game wrecker. But man, that's a pretty big if at this point. Throw in Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi, who, by the way, is already suspended for the first 6 games, and the Bills are banking on a lot of things just going right. But which NFL team do you think most won free agency? Who do you think were the biggest losers? Who do you think we're right on here? Who do you think we're wrong about? Was there anyone that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey.
Yeah, you heard him too. If you like this video, shout out TPS. Go like and subscribe to his stuff too. Shout out TPS. He worked hard on this video. It's a very good product. I liked it. Let's get into the closing statements though. I don't think he talked about the Vikings. Did he talk about the Vikings? How are you not gonna talk about the Vikings? You just showed it. We got Will Fries. We signed a couple cornerbacks. Harrison Smith is coming back. Pretty sure we still got our left tackle and right tackle. Am I right or am I wrong? Listen, we got Mason from the 49ers. I think he's a very good young halfback prospect. I think if we can still draft a halfback that we should. I feel like there's a lot of good halfbacks in this draft. There's always a lot of good young halfbacks in the draft if you ask me. We got Ashton Jeanty. We got, I think, Amarion Hampton. What's that other guy's name? How am I forgetting his name? I get on here and I start forgetting stuff. But how didn't you cover the Vikings? Listen, we're going to be big dogs in the NFC North next year. Believe it. I did think I forgot to talk about the Bills. As far as it goes with the Bills, I feel like I give all their free agencies, from this point, in my opinion, I would just give it a B minimum just because at this point, I ain't gonna lie, I believe in Josh Allen's ability to get them to the playoffs almost no matter what. Josh Allen's question, see, Lamar Jackson's questions to me is still different. Can he consistently win playoff games? You know what I'm saying? That's my question for Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry. And when you're having all them turnovers and stuff, and it doesn't feel like the Bills. It feels like the Bills are always in the playoffs. The Bills are always winning games in the playoffs. It just feels like the Bills always can, well, not always. The Bills can never beat the Chiefs. That's what it feels like. Right? With Lamar Jackson, we're hoping he can make it to the playoffs, and then we're hoping that he doesn't get put out in the first round. Let's be honest. For as good as he is, every year we get to the playoffs with Lamar Jackson, we're kind of holding our breath. You know what I'm saying? With Josh Allen, for the most part, as long as he doesn't run into Patrick Mahomes, we're like, yo, this guy's good. So for me, the Bills always gonna be. They talked about the Cardinals. We talked about the who else? They talked about a lot of teams. It's kind of hard for me to remember right now. I'm sorry. I'm kind of losing focus a little bit during this closing statement a little bit. My bad. Again, it'd be a lot of information, a lot of players. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to sort it all out in my brain, but it's kind of difficult. But yeah, I gave you all of my opinions. I think for the most part, a lot of teams are staying pat. I think the Chiefs are staying pat. Honestly, with the Chiefs, I feel like teams, to a certain extent, just got to stop being scared of them. I think when teams play the Chiefs, they play in a very scary fashion. I thought when the Bills played the Chiefs, they played in a very scary fashion, like they were scared to lose. You can't be scared to lose. The reason I feel like Joe Burrow beat the Chiefs back then, he looked that challenge in the face. He was like, all right, I'm here. Yeah, I don't care what people saying. I don't care who you is. When I get on this field, I'm going to make y'all feel me because I'm Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has that sort of swagger about him. When I see other people play the Chiefs, they never have that swagger about them. Listen, this is sports. Accept that challenge. Get on that field and fight. Don't be scared. So I think that's the thing for the Chiefs. As long as they have that where people are kind of scared of them, they will be successful, especially in the postseason. So I think that sums it up about the Chiefs. I do think we saw a little, I wouldn't say aggression from Patrick Mahomes, but I think for the first time, second time in his career, he's really looked stoppable as a quarterback, which I think, I don't want to say hurts his legacy, but it kind of hurts like the narrative around Patrick Mahomes. After that Super Bowl, we know people can get to him. We know he can be affected. We know he also needs weapons. He's just a quarterback. He can't do it all by himself, put him on his back. I'll say for the last 3 years, it felt like he could do anything. That feeling is slowly starting to fade. Besides that, I think as far as all the trends of the NFL season we saw last year is continuing this year. Some teams staying pat. The teams that were getting better continue to get better, aka the Commanders, aka the Vikings. Teams that we saw getting worse continue to get worse, the 49ers, for example. So the trend just continued. We're going to have another very exciting football season, man. But we are at the end of the video, so make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, man, because we out.